Good afternoon and welcome to Bradenton Kiwanis. I'm your long-lost leader. It's great to see everybody again. Thanks for being here. Special welcome to any of our guests today. We'll have John Vita please give us our invocation, followed by the pledge and singing of My Country 'Tis of Thee.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let's all pray together. Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for this beautiful club and all of its beautiful members, Lord. We just ask you to help us all come together to do your will here in our community through Kiwanis. Lord, we just ask you to bless this food so it can nourish our body so we can walk more like you every single day. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated and let's have some social networking for the next 15 minutes. All right, welcome back, everybody. At this time, we'll have John Mullis please come up and give us our guests, and then we'll have a few announcements before we turn it over to our program.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we have a pretty good turnout of guests today, so when I call your name, please stand up so we can give you a big Kiwanis welcome. So our first is a returning member, Larry Hibbs. Good to see you, Larry. We have Cheryl Cross, who is a guest of Sharon Barhorse. Janice Lenny, a guest of John Lenny. James Lynch, a guest of Richie Morris. We have Sharon Hillstrom from the DC. We have Gabrielle Versmessen, a guest of Hillary King. And we have several potential new members who have applications in. So we have Tala Sadiq. Jess Cruz, Carol Whitmore, and Carol Kalinda. Thank you, Neil.
All right. Thank you and welcome to everybody. Mike Bear, please come start making your way forward for community service. We do have a club board meeting next Wednesday, the 21st, over at Fusilli's at noon. Mike? And I'll let you just go right into the club.
Will do. Good day, everyone. A couple of announcements with regards to community service. We've got the Scouts are getting ready to do some things as far as building a bat house over at GT Bray. We're also going to put up some osprey towers to be able to hold some osprey nests. So that's going to be going on, but we don't have any firm dates yet. But put that on the calendar, right, Christy? We were just talking about that for community service. Also, There is the Sunrise Club is having the 4th annual Cornhole and Cocktails event that's up at the Palmetto Fairgrounds at the Veterans Hall. It is Saturday, July 8th, so just an announcement on that. Manatee Elementary is having their open house, and most of you will remember the last four or 5 years, maybe even more than that, we've gone and done the grill team. We had some issues last year, so it was the hot dog boil team. But anyway, we're looking. Thankfully, they could take care of it. But anyway, we're going to be grilling out hot dogs, and that is going to be August 8th from 6 till 8 p.m. And we'll be doing that, handing out food for the families over there. And lastly, I'll mention that the district convention called Decon is going on August 17th through the 20th. They've got a really cool lazy river at the Omni Resort Hotel, I heard. So anybody that's interested in attending Decon, please reach out to Officer, especially to Neil Unruh, and we can get you worked in. I'd like to move into the program right now. We've got an interesting program called Soar in 4. And Dr. Sheila Halpin is the Director of Early Learning for Manatee County Schools. And Sheila, I'll just have you come on up and take care of the program here.
Good afternoon. SOAR in 4 is a parenting program that promotes literacy. We activate parents to be their child's first teacher. Parents learn... Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Parents learn how to read to their child, to introduce new vocabulary, and to connect to community resources. Research shows that there's no better time to create a strong foundation for lifelong learning than the first 5 years of life. It is during this period that a child's brain develops the most rapidly. We have all heard that a parent is a child's first teacher. The goal of SOAR in 4 is to provide parents with the knowledge, the skills, and the resources to become their child's first literacy teacher. Small incremental changes can lead to big results. At each SOAR in 4 event, families learn simple and fun ways to boost brain building, to do activities at home together. SOAR in 4 teaches families that the things that matter most for healthy brain development, like talking and playing, don't require more time, money, or stuff. SOAR in 4 is made possible through philanthropic and community donations. No school district funds support the SOAR in 4 program. The early learning team from the school district provides activities and aligns those activities to the standards and benchmarks for 4-year-olds. That's our contribution. Everything else is provided by community donors. The 30 million word gap study concluded that the first 3 years of a child's life are critical to advancing language development and can have long-term impacts on the success for school. The study revealed that families from different socioeconomic levels were exposed to vastly different numbers of words in their formative years. This variability in exposure accounted for significant differences in a child's language skills. Please enjoy this short video that provides a sampling of the SOAR in 4 programs.
SOAR in 4 is Manatee County's movement to ensure all early learners and their families have the opportunities and support needed for success in school and beyond. All SOAR in 4 programs, books, and learning materials play an important role in helping families with young students close the learning gap and develop strong reading skills by the end of 3rd grade. Our popular family night at Bishop Museum features free books and activities so kids can continue learning at home. Soar in 4 helps to transform our neighborhoods by creating generational change, which leads students to greater educational opportunities and economic prosperity. At Soar in 4, we continue to collaborate with community partners to create programs that support vocabulary and literacy development. We focus on improving reading skills in young children by offering educational activities and materials designed to support parents and students with at-home learning. Soar in 4's Library Corner Storytime is a monthly program in partnership with Manatee County Libraries and ELC Manatee to develop a child's vocabulary with read-aloud activities and games. The materials we provide supports classroom learning with new vocabulary words. Our families participate with their child through reading and language development, and each family leaves Soar in 4 with an abundance of literacy materials to continue expanding their vocabulary at home. Thanks to the generosity of our friends at Bob Boast Volkswagen, 15 Title I elementary schools received one of these red-roofed giveaway libraries meant for early readers. This collaboration with the Campaign for Grade-Level Reading ensures that families have access to free books in their neighborhood. Each month, the giveaway libraries are restocked with new books from the Early Learning Coalition of Manatee. Families now have the opportunity to choose a new book, or two, each month to read together. This endeavor lays a strong foundation for school success. At our free monthly family night at Bishop Museum, kids and their families can learn, play, and explore. In addition to exploring the museum, Soar in 4 teaches families how to use the provided materials and books to encourage learning at home and develop better language and listening skills, which prepares them to understand the written word. Soar in 4 ensures all children are reading on grade level by the end of 3rd grade. We believe a child's vocabulary is linked to school success, and families reading, learning, exploring, and playing together is an important part of improving literacy in young children.
We're trying to get homeschooling done, and you get a lot of supplies here that really encourage the kids. Matching magnets, colors, anything you can think of, things that you wouldn't think of creating yourself, you actually find it here.
We do read every day, and actually all the tips and the techniques that they teach me here help me to ask him questions about the stories and things like that I didn't knew before.
We receive a lot of parenting resources, activities, so ideas for activities, awesome books. That's probably the highlight of Soar for 4 is what awesome books they have available to us.
Well, a lot of the materials that they're giving us are books, which is perfect. So this is just another resource to get them reading and get them ready for school for the next year.
It's a wonderful program where I can interact with the kids and do hands-on learning, and I love that I get a bunch of free supplies and learning tools to use at home with the kids.
And we absolutely love all the activities they have, kind of just thinking out the box with learning activities, things that we can do at home, as well as supplies, ideas, books.
Soar in 4 provides families with materials, new vocabulary, and the support to be their child's first best literacy teacher.
So that's Soar in 4. Soar in 4 was birthed in Manatee County. It began when Steve and Carolyn Rosskamp became interested in finding a solution to why 50% of Manatee County's 3rd graders were not reading proficiently. Reading proficiently by the end of 3rd grade is the most important predictor of high school graduation. Although schools must be accountable for helping all children to achieve, the Campaign for Grade Level Reading is based on the belief that schools cannot succeed alone. Early literacy skills should begin at birth. When parents read, talk, and play with a purpose with their children at birth, they help to shape their network of neurons. Children whose families start reading to them at birth for 30 minutes a day will go to kindergarten with over 900 hours of literacy time. These early literacy skills, such as building vocabulary, rhyming, and books, make the children who come to school have more accessibility to reading when they get to kindergarten. They are more proficient. When Soar and 4 began 8 years ago, it served one Title I school, and it was to prepare those children to start school. It was a summer program. The concept was so well received by the early learning families, and we had data to support that those children who participated were more ready for school, that Superintendent Saunders asked us to grow the program to support the 17 Title I elementary schools. Soar and 4 has evolved into a monthly program that is held at the Bishop Museum of Science and Nature. In addition to receiving free entrance to the museum, families meet with experienced educators for tips on how to support their child's literacy at home and how to prepare their child for kindergarten. Families receive materials to continue activities at home and new books. In addition, families get to meet with community resource partners. Our partners infuse literacy activities as they promote their events. Soar and 4 has expanded into 5 public libraries, and we have retired educators that meet with families twice a month. In story times, families participate in a read aloud, and they learn how to support their child's language development through songs and literacy. We actually had a 1-week-old that participated in story time at one of our libraries. And Soar and 4 giveaway libraries have been placed at 17 Title I elementary schools. This ensures that families have access to new reading material 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in their neighborhoods. All Soar and 4 programs are completely free for the entire family. And although we target 17 neighborhoods, we don't turn anyone away. Our entire community is welcome at Soar and 4 events. Our Soar and 4 families are quite mobile. Because you start at one of our schools doesn't mean that you're going to finish the year there. So Soar and 4 is a place where parents can come and meet the former community, and they can meet the new community in neighborhoods that they're participating in. Soar and 4 has won 2 national awards and has received many local recognitions. Complex trauma can disrupt child development. The Soar and 4 mission is to ensure that children from families of all races, incomes, and abilities and languages have the opportunities and the support that they need for success in school and beyond. Soar and 4 recently participated in a Results First verification study. The Results First framework is the results of a series of workshops, interviews with program participants, and prototyping new approaches to learning. These are some things that we learned. Families are engaging with the take-home materials from the events. They are noticing a difference in how they interact with their child because of using Soar and 4 activities at home. And families are reading more at home with the books that they receive from Soar and 4. Children are initiating literacy activities by bringing books to the parents and asking them to be read to. And our partners stated that they have found benefit from participating at the Soar and 4 events. They are able to market their programs to families they normally wouldn't have contact with at their locations. Soar and 4 has been a blessing to our community. We are able to serve families that were underutilizing community resources, and we have data to support that the families that participate are more ready for school. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Steve Roskamp, the founder of the Soar and 4 program.
All right, how's that? So thanks for allowing us to speak in front of you today. It was 9 years ago that my senior living community in Sarasota. I live here in Manatee for 30 years, but my senior living community, Sarasota Bay Club, did a program with the Community Foundation of Sarasota and Girls Inc., where a bunch of girls would come and we'd do some fun stuff, and we would pair them with individuals either on staff or that live with us to read. And it was super well received. It was a lot of fun. And at the end of it, I was meeting with John Annis, who was then with the Community Foundation of Sarasota, and I was like, John, why do we do this? And he said, well, Steve, 30% of third graders don't read at grade level here in Sarasota. And I said, well, what does that mean going forward? He said, well, you learn to read up through third grade, and then thereafter you read to learn. Pretty simple transition there. And I said, well, when does that 30% catch up, John? And he said, they don't. And I thought, my goodness, a third of the population is getting capped on their careers at 8 years old in Sarasota. And so my next question is, John, I live in Manatee County. What's the number there? And he said 50%. And as I was just sitting with Sharon Hillstrom, and she's working on workforce housing, and you know, housing instability is something that has to be solved. Getting a kid to stay in that same school, same strategy is super important. But just think of that. Probably most of you are business owners or retired business owners or all. Half of the potential workforce here in our county is being undereducated because they couldn't read at grade level at 8 years old. So the next year, we had sold a business. I decided to invest in what I could do, got affiliated with Seabreeze Elementary through our church, and my wife, who does mission outreach there, and we just started getting involved. And Sheila showed up a couple of months in and had a huge vision for what we could be. And so you saw a little glimpse of this here today. So probably a lot of the parents that we serve were ones that struggled in school. They were part of that 50% here. They probably grew up here and didn't have a good time at school. We're looking to change that. So these materials are getting into the hands of those parents that are, in fact, extremely interested. Now, I've talked to too many people who think that folks in the lower economics don't care as much about kids in the upper economics strata of our community. It's not true. At our Soar and 4 last week, we had 1,100 through Bishop Museum that were there, parents, grandparents, and kids. Next month, we're partnering with MCR Health. And last year we had 2,500 through the Bishop Museum to get our supplies and all of this. Folks are interested in this. One of our first partners, and I just saw Don Stanhope, is Boys and Girls Club. I think our first two partners were State College and Boys and Girls Club. So thank you, Don, for being an early goer of this. All of the folks that are in the T-shirts you might have seen, those Soar and 4, those are teachers. It's not a Manatee School District program, but it's aligned with the school district, so we complement what's going on in the school program with great partners like Boys and Girls Club and 40 Carrots and Van Wezel and libraries and all of that. So we kind of grew this grassroots to partner with everybody who was really interested and well organized to help kids. And I saw Avenue 941 has been with us and saw your name tag there too. So we're always interested in more partners. We're always interested in more people that want to help advance and grow what we do. So I'd like to invite you Don't plan to come and tour in July, because we'll have over 2,000 there. It'll be kind of a madhouse. But the next Soar in 4 is August 2nd. We're usually the first Wednesday of each month. Our website is SOAR, SOARIN, number 4.org, and the calendar is there, so soarin4.org. August 2nd at 5:30 to 7:30 our program will run, but we'll have a tour going for anybody who wants to come and learn about it. And if you feel moved to join us, we will either partner you with somebody who's already there, or it'll be another growth of what our program is and or could be to serve these children. I love your motto. You're trying to help one child at a time. That's what we do too. So thank you.
All right, you guys available for questions? All right. Any questions for our speakers today?
You have tremendous numbers. How are you getting the word out to all these families and folks? It's awesome.
So what we always say is one conversation at a time. We always share that it's one conversation at a time. So how it originally started to gain traction is I am an employee of the School District of Manatee County. So if you had a child enrolled in VPK, in our program for our 4-year-olds, you received a phone message from the child's principal inviting you to come to this outreach. We also partnered with the Early Learning Coalition and Step Up Suncoast, and they shared the invitation to their families. So then it really became a neighborhood program, because our goal is really to give the parents the information and the resources to become their child's first literacy teacher, to provide that most support that we can to get those children ready for kindergarten. So we really wanted all the partners that could spread that out through all the 4-year-olds in the area. So in addition to the phone calls, then we really started to gain traction with our youngers when we invented and came up with the concept of story time in the libraries. And that's where I shared that we actually had a 1-week-old that came out. So when you come to Soar in 4 now, you'll see the children in the strollers, you'll see the children that are, holding moms and dads' hands. We have 4-year-olds that come, but as I said earlier, we don't turn anybody away. So if families happen to move to another location, they're still invited to come. But the traction really started when we brought in those early learners from the libraries and going out into the neighborhoods. But then it's also word of mouth, that once a parent comes to Soar in 4, and remember, we're dealing with our poverty families, they have to understand to leave that neighborhood. Once they leave that neighborhood and they're greeted by the teachers, that's another big piece of this, that you're going to be with your child's teacher that night. You come and see the child's teacher. We remove some of those barriers. Once they come, they keep coming, and then they tell their neighbors and their friends.
How do you work with parents that maybe don't read or don't have those skills or whatever to actually teach their child?
Yeah. So they learn the skills to teach their child. They don't have to read to be able to support those literacy skills at home. One of the activities we have at Soar in 4 is we provide families resources with an app that they can put on their phone. It doesn't cost any minutes for our families, and it's all nursery rhymes and it's all stories. It's in multiple languages with the toggle of that application. But that's the beauty of story time. It goes back to the number of vocabulary words that a child hears. So we're teaching families how to increase more language into their child's daily life. So I was sharing at lunch, one of the things that we might give away at Soar in 4 are bubbles. Everyone can relate to that. Your child has had bubbles at home, you blow the bubbles. What we teach families to do at Soar in 4, no matter what language they speak at home, we hope it's English because that'll help them when they get to kindergarten, but whatever language is, when you blow a bubble at home, what shape is that bubble? That bubble is a circle. The bubble becomes a spear. Then when you're using that language, what direction is the bubble going? Is it going forward? Is it going backward? We start to build in positional words. So parents don't have to read to be able to support that new vocabulary that those children are going to see in kindergarten. So we do that through 21 tables in that museum. Everyone is working on these skills that kids are going to need when they get to kindergarten.
Richard? Go ahead, Richard.
I was just Sheila, I know there's like a long list of community agencies that partner with Soar 4. Can you just kind of briefly touch upon some of the amazing organizations that work with you guys?
Yes, so we have a wide variety of organizations that work for us. I share with a lot of families. I grew up by being raised by a single mother. I grew up poor. We were homeless part of the time. So my mother never would have been able to access all of the resources that you get in one place for Soar 4. So anybody that wants to connect with families are invited to have a Soar 4, a table at Soar 4, completely free of charge. What we do is work with them to provide a literacy activity. So you can be from the Palmetto Agricultural Museum. You have a different mission than what we do, but we work with them to develop things that support their mission, but then tie in literacy. So that's where you start to see some of our museums actually have different handouts for families or activities. We always want everything to be play-based, but yes, families can come to Soar 4, and there's probably 10 community resource tables that are providing information about their mission. What they were seeing was our families, our Title I families, were underutilizing their resources. And so because of this connection, now that we're starting to see our families are traveling out, especially if they invite us to have our Soar 4 teachers there. So one of the outreaches that we had done is Ringling Museum is always at Soar 4. They're always talking to families about activities they can do at home. But one of the things they did was invite us to the Ringling Museum. And they were expecting maybe 20 or 30 of our families to show up. We had over 500 that attended. So what we did was position our teachers within the main gallery. So when you're traveling through the museum, what are you looking for? What are you describing from this picture? Are you looking for an animal? What colors do you see? We had teachers on the playground. We had teachers, in the rose garden. But because we positioned them around, the families felt more at ease to travel through the museum, some of which nobody had ever attended before. The majority of our parents that have grown up in Manatee County may have gone to the Bishop Museum as a field trip when they were in school, but never could afford to go back again, let alone take their entire family. We want anybody associated with that child to come that night, because just setting foot in that museum is new vocabulary. When you add all of the tables on top of that with the materials we're giving out, that's even more vocabulary. And the materials change each month. So just because you came to this table and got bubbles this year, you won't see bubbles again until next year at this time. But what you will do is have more materials that support literacy development all month long, and then that repeats again. But yes, we have community resource partners that were underutilized until they started for our families and started participating in Soar 4, and now are able to share about their mission to our families.
Gene?
Thank you. I was fortunate enough a month ago or so to come and visit through that one evening, and what Steve and Carolyn, through obviously our education partners here, have done is so exciting to see, as well as we talk about the 50%, 30% compared to Sarasota. Is there any numbers yet that show that maybe we're making some strides? And I shared, obviously, one thing that, some of our Title I schools, especially in the city of Bradenton, I don't know we're as much represented that we need to be in some way. And is there angles to say, okay, especially like a Rogers Elementary, that, in Manatee might have been a little more represented just by watching the Rogers in itself, where we probably have the most situational reading, and you hear about some of the crime in that area. It's those kids that are 3 and 4 that are with, unfortunately, their 15-year-old moms that don't know how to get there. And that is there an angle on that to get, and what can we do as Kiwanis and the community to help them?
You want me to
Sure.
Sorry. Those are a lot of questions, Gene. So under the direction of our last 2 superintendents of schools, starting with Diana Green and then Cynthia Saunders, for those high challenge schools, the approach is to have a community partnership school. And so the first community partnership school was done at Manatee L, and it was alluded to, you all did the hot dogs and stuff, which were pretty good. I had one of them. We were there, and that is much more intentional in the schools where it's walkable, right? So it's intentional to say this school has at least 90% of the families can walk to it, and then we're going to build some of these services around it. So MCR Health opened a clinic not only for the kids, but also for the families of the kids at Manatee Elementary. USF is part of the programming and getting teachers to supply teachers there. So I was with Cynthia Saunders and Conrad Szymanski and stuff. 2 years ago at Manatee L, they were looking for over 40 staff people that summer to replenish those who left. I think it was 19 the year before this last break, and at our last report, they were looking for nobody. All of those staff were wanting to stay. So you've got to credit that if we've got consistent education going on, that's going to make a difference for those children and that family in an intense way. Cynthia approved to go to Daughtry. So last year, so she wanted to have 3 of these community partnership schools. There's a lot of intentionality, there's a lot of coordination, and therefore a lot of expense. It's several $100,000 to make that go. So Daughtry is also one where most everybody walks to. They kind of were easing into it this year, and next year's kind of full on. And then she had a vision for doing one in Palmetto as well, and we'll see what the next superintendent comes. Our past 2 superintendents have been risk takers to go ahead and take that type of thing on. And then United Way, through their big plan for those schools that aren't part of the community partnership school, is looking to bring specific resources to augment to these parents. And then Soar and 4 dive into reading and a number of these other community programs, try to create that as well. As far as progress, we were seeing some inching of progress, and then COVID hit. We kept Soar and 4 going. We couldn't be in the museum, but we were down at the old DeSoto Mall, and the first couple months we had halfway around was the car line of that whole entire thing. That's how hungry the parents were for getting this type of assistance to work with their kids. So this is the long game. Under the past couple superintendents, we've seen, how many failing schools do we have anymore? We made tremendous progress, and this is just part of the fabric of making that progress. Specific numbers, we still got to have a long way to go. Unfortunately, COVID really disrupted that for us and everybody. Sheila?
Reading proficiency doesn't start in 3rd grade. As I said, it starts in birth. We do have data to support that the families that come to Soar and 4, the children have better attendance, they have less behavior problems, and they do better in school. I'm happy to share our pre-K data for our school district this year was higher than it's ever been. 84% of our early learners are meeting or exceeding benchmark data. But as Steve said, that's been a lot of work getting families to get to that point. So that has to continue through kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. But this is the highest that we've ever seen, that our preschool children are performing this well by the end of preschool. And I credit a lot of that to Soar and 4 and the work that we're doing in our classrooms. So Soar and 4 has made a big difference in Manatee County. It's a model that can be implemented anywhere if you have the support of the school district and you have the support of the community. So it's an exciting model. As we talked about, Mayor, we would love more families to come to Soar and 4. So what's something that you can do? You can talk about it. Bring people to Soar and 4. Once they come, they become attached to Soar and 4 because they can't believe the whole thing is free, and parents are getting so much out of this, and they're learning how to support their children. So when you look around Soar and 4, you'll see children from all different schools, but we do pull the zip codes from the zip codes. When the children come in, we We ask them what schools they attend, and they're coming from our title schools. We do have some outliers, but if you can afford to go to the museum, you're probably not going to want to wait in line for an hour before we open and be there on such a crowded night if you can go another night.
All right, thank you. We're going to go ahead and give them a round of applause for everybody. Stay up here. As is our Bradenton Kiwanis tradition, we provide you with a golden ruler to measure the future success of Soar 4. So we have a ruler for both of you. Bradenton Kiwanis, a better way of life, a better Bradenton.
Oh, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, next week our speaker had to change out, so we had our own Sean Powers be able to provide us with a presentation next week. It'll be around the foster children programming area. So I want to thank, I've been gone for so long, but I want to thank every one of you that went to the Manatee County Commission the day that we provided them with our big check. It's going to be a lasting legacy for Bradenton Kiwanis. Thank you to the Playground Committee and for all of you that were there that has made this project go as far as it has. With that, happy Father's Day to everybody next Sunday that will be a father or know a father, and have a good week the rest of your week. We are adjourned.